The Galactic Council had made their final mistake. Captain Raza Ahmed stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the enemy fleet approach through the viewport. Thousands of sleek alien vessels moved in perfect formation across the starfield, their hulls gleaming like predators' teeth in the light of distant suns. The Zephyrian Confederation, the Korthak Empire, and 17 other species had finally united for one purpose: the complete annihilation of humanity. "Sir," came the voice of Commander Fiza Hassan from the tactical station, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of her console. "Long-range sensors confirm it. 300,000 ships. They've brought everything they have." Raza nodded grimly. After 2 years of warnings, ultimatums, and failed negotiations, the galaxy's elder races had decided that humanity's rapid expansion posed too great a threat. They called humans the virus species. Too aggressive, too innovative, too dangerous to be allowed to spread among the stars. What they didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the first alien contact 90 years ago. "Fiza," Raza said quietly. "Send the coded transmission to Earth Command. Authorization Omega-7. Her fingers hesitated over the controls for just a moment. They both knew what those codes meant. Once sent, there would be no turning back. "Sir, are you certain? The Accords of Geneva Station specifically prohibited—" "The Accords are void," Raza interrupted, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's fate. "They voided them the moment they decided genocide was an acceptable solution." He turned to face her, and she saw something ancient and terrible burning in his eyes. "Send the codes, Commander. It's time they learned why Earth kept certain technologies classified." Fiza's hands moved across her console with practiced precision. "Transmission sent, sir. Earth Command confirms receipt. They're asking for final confirmation." Raza walked to the center of the bridge, his reflection ghost-like in the polished deck plating. Around him, the crew worked in tense silence, knowing they were about to witness something that would echo through galactic history. "Tell them," he said clearly, "that Captain Raza Ahmed, on behalf of the human colonial fleet, hereby authorizes the release of all restricted military assets. Project Lazarus is now active." The response from Earth came within seconds. "Admiral," Chen's voice crackled through the comm system. "Confirmed, Captain. God help us all. Lazarus protocol initiated. ETA to your position, 18 minutes. Across the bridge, faces turned toward Raza with expressions of awe and terror. Even Fiza looked pale. Everyone in the military knew the rumors about Project Lazarus, but the details were classified at levels most had never dreamed of accessing. The alien fleet had closed to within visual range now, their formation spreading like a virus across the void. The lead vessels were already charging their weapons, preparing for what they believed would be humanity's final battle. They had no idea what humanity had been building in the dark spaces between stars. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. They're demanding our immediate surrender." "Put it through," Raza said. The main screen flickered, revealing the insectoid features of High Admiral Zakth, his compound eyes glittering with predatory satisfaction. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Surrender now, and we will grant you a swift death. Continue to resist, and we will make your species suffer for generations before we extinguish you entirely." Raza smiled, and there was something in that expression that made even his own crew uncomfortable. "High Admiral, I want you to remember this moment. When your historians write about the day the galaxy learned to fear humanity, they'll mark it as the moment you refused our offer of peace." Zakth's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Fear? From a species barely a century old? Your arrogance will die with you, human." "Perhaps," Raza replied calmly. "But you should know, we've been waiting for this day since we first left Earth. Every ship we built, every colony we established, every technology we developed, it was all preparation for the moment you would try to destroy us." His smile widened. "Thank you for finally giving us permission to show you what we're truly capable of." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. Fiza checked her chronometer. 15 minutes until... She never finished the sentence. Space around them suddenly erupted in impossible geometries as reality itself seemed to twist and fold. The very fabric of space-time rippled. And then... they appeared. The Lazarus fleet. They materialized out of nowhere. Thousands upon thousands of vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Where alien ships were sleek and organic, these were harsh angles and brutal functionality. Where other races built for beauty or efficiency, humanity had built for one purpose: war. The ships were massive, some stretching for kilometers, their hulls black as the void between stars. But it wasn't their size that made Fiza's breath catch. It was the impossible way they moved, phasing in and out of normal space, defying every law of physics the galaxy thought it understood. "My God," whispered the helmsman. "How many are there?" "Enough," Raza said simply. The alien fleet, so confident moments before, suddenly found itself outnumbered 10-1. But numbers were only part of the horror they now faced. The Lazarus ships opened fire. What happened next would be studied by xenobiologists for centuries. The weapons humanity unleashed weren't mere energy beams or kinetic projectiles. They were violations of reality itself. Weapons that reached across dimensions, that turned matter into energy and energy into something else entirely. Entire alien battleships simply ceased to exist. Others found themselves trapped in temporal loops, watching their own destruction play out in endless recursion. The Korthak dreadnought Bloodclaw suddenly aged 10,000 years in as many seconds, crumbling to cosmic dust while its crew screamed in languages that had been forgotten since the universe was young. "Sir," Fiza reported, her voice barely steady, "the enemy fleet is in full retreat. They're requesting terms of surrender." Raza nodded slowly. "Open a channel to all ships, ours and theirs." When the connection established, his voice carried across the battlefield with perfect clarity. "To all those who sought humanity's destruction, you came here believing us weak because we are young. You were wrong. We are not weak, we are careful. For 90 years we have restrained ourselves, bound by treaties and moral considerations that you have now shown us are meaningless." He paused, letting his words sink in across 1,000 ships. "You wanted to see what humanity is truly capable of. Now you know. We are the species that builds weapons we hope never to use. We are the children of a world that nearly destroyed itself, and we learned from that lesson. But today you have forced us to remember what we can become when pushed too far." The Lazarus fleet began to fade, phasing back into whatever impossible dimensions they called home. But their message was clear. Humanity would no longer be the galaxy's victim. "The war is over," Raza announced. "Humanity claims no territory, demands no tribute, but neither will we ever again accept limitations placed upon us by others. We tried coexistence, you chose extinction." As the alien fleets limped away into the dark, carrying word of humanity's hidden strength to every corner of the galaxy, Fiza approached her captain. "Sir, was it really necessary to show them everything? The temporal weapons, the dimensional drives?" Raza looked out at the stars, ancient and cold and infinite. "They needed to understand, Fiza. We're not the monsters they thought we were. We're something far more terrifying." "Which is?" He turned to her, and in his eyes she saw the weight of humanity's choice, the terrible responsibility of a species that had learned to wage war against the laws of physics themselves. "We're the monsters they made." The stars themselves seemed to shiver at those words, and across the galaxy, ancient races began to recalculate everything they thought they knew about the young species from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Humanity had shown mercy for 90 years. They would not make that mistake again.